Hello and welcome to yet another video from a dumb chimp trying to go in wisdom and wanting to share his spiritual experience with you. Firstly, I just like your opinion on the setup. I know I switched up a couple of videos ago because I was told that my old format of sitting on the sofa didn't look as professional. So let me know what you think of this. Lighting, strategically placed icons, that sort of thing. Is it good, is it bad? Shall I change up? Shall I go back? Anyway, today's episode, I'm going to talk on the subject of spiritual struggles, the obstacles that we face along the journey towards the kingdom of heaven. Quite a vague subject, I'm aware of that. So I'm going to start this with a story from my own personal life. When I was a teenager, my mum had won a holiday to Norway. It was a cruise. And on one of the stops, we disembarked and we had booked onto a hike, which for me at that age, as an adolescent addicted to the indoors, video games and junk food, was my absolute worst nightmare. I protested to no end. I was being an insufferable, selfish, ungrateful little swine. My mother's words. I'm joking. And just being a pain and really digging my heels in. And I really just wanted to sit on the cruise, watch TV, eat ice cream, and do nothing. And eventually, my mum coerced me out of the cruise and onto the path. And the entire time, I complained. I hated every single moment of that hike because I was extremely unfit at the time. I didn't exercise whatsoever, so every step felt like I was doing a 100-kilo lunge. I was sweating, I was out of breath. I just hated every single moment of it. And this went on for, I genuinely don't know how long, but it felt like 6 hours. The very minimum, but it was probably like 20 minutes. And we're walking along this path. I'm complaining. I'm just being a pain and dampening everyone's time. Eventually, we make it to the top. And it was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen in my life. It wasn't just a mountain, it was a glacier. So imagine this giant monolithic structure of ice with a blue hue, crystal clear water flowing, birds chirping, trees just, I'd never witnessed anything so perfect in my life up until that point. I remember just standing there like, whoa. Once I recovered from the physical turmoil that I was put through, I had this moment of just sheer bliss. And then I found out that we would actually be kayaking along this glacier, which to me was once again dumbfounding. I was like, really? Like, we get to do this? So we get in these overalls, like protective gear, life vest. We hop into the kayak. I am quite literally kayaking on top of a glacier. I got your hand. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Look at the birds. Look at the water. Whoa, a bit rocky. What's going on? Just boating past this beautiful glacier. All the structures. How nature has transformed what should be something mundane into something so beautiful and picturesque that I wasn't able to put my tongue on why exactly it was. I was so captivated by what I was seeing. But it was overshadowed by what had preceded that. My ingratitude, my selfishness, my complaints. I couldn't fully enjoy it because I'd really put a dampener on everyone's day, not just my own, everyone's day up until that point. And even in retrospect, when I look back, I still hold a bit of shame towards myself for having done that. But the reason I want to start with this story is because I think it's reflective of everyone's spiritual journey in life, where the journey itself is pretty much never what we want it to be. If you become an Orthodox Christian or a Christian in general with the hopes that life is going to get easier, you've made the wrong choice. It doesn't get easier, but you do become stronger. But while you're becoming stronger, you are going to be faced with great peril. It's going to be suffering. It's difficult. It's like going to the gym. You have to put yourself under resistance and strenuous activity in order to grow. And that is your day-to-day life. It is a climb. It's a climb up that hill. And every day you may want to kick and scream, dig your heels in and complain about it. But the reason you're complaining, the reason we all complain, is because you're not getting what you want. That's ultimately what it boils down to. This is a very subtle form of pride that not many people admit to having, but it's one that we all suffer with to a certain degree. In that moment of climbing the hill, I wanted to be in the comfort of the cruise and eating food. That's what I wanted. Okay? But when I made it to the top, everything changed. And that, to me, truly and fully expresses the nature of this journey along the narrow path that God calls us to walk along. While we're enduring the struggle and the pain and the tests, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to envision what could be at the top of the climb that you're currently embarking on. And you're going to want something different other than to be in pain. That could be wanting to doom scroll on your phone. It could be wanting to eat copious amounts of ice cream or to seclude yourself and play video games all day. You are going to want to distract yourself and escape from the struggle because you're not getting what you want. Now, a very important part of this is to understand what it is that you actually want and why you want it. Because it will be selfish, and I say this not judgmentally, but experientially. It will be selfish. But the sooner you acknowledge and accept that what you want and what God knows you need are very different things. Once again, those that know me know how much I love to say that because of how true it is. You don't want to struggle in that moment. You don't want to go through the pain. But when you realize why you've gone through it and you make it to the top of the mountain, whatever your mountain is, and you see or you experience what it is that God had set you up with, it's then you look back and think, I really wish I hadn't behaved that way. In my example, if I had to choose between kayaking on a glacier and sitting on a cruise ship, I would 100% choose the kayaking. But it meant that I had to go through the struggle, and that was the part I didn't want to do. I just wanted the result, which I didn't even know was there. And that's another tricky thing, is that you don't know what the result is because you can't conceive the kingdom of heaven. You cannot comprehend it. So you're going through this struggle, getting hit with all these spiritual obstacles, demons coming out of nowhere, and you don't even know why you're doing it. Until you make it to the top of whatever mountain it is you're climbing, and you look down and think, damn, this was worth it. And these mountains, they are microcosmic examples of the grand journey of our entire lives. You can consider conception until your repose. That's one mountain. And then each individual venture that you embark on, whether it's a physical one or a spiritual one, those are their own mountains in of themselves, right? And that's why it's so important to persevere. If you really feel that God is putting you through a test, putting you through a gauntlet, it's not for no reason. And it's so important in those moments of despondency where you're not getting what you want and you want to throw your toys out your pram and you want to get angry, to show gratitude for being on the path in the first place. And this is something my spiritual father yesterday helped me realize. The fact that you are even on that path in the first place is a blessing. You know that? Where else could you be? You could be on the cruise eating ice cream. You could be watching adult content or partying on the weekend or doing something else that is immoral and inconducive, is that the right word, to the spiritual journey. But you're not. You're on the path. And that's far further than most people can say that they get to. Because a lot of people will look up and think, no, I'm not doing that, and turn around. Sometimes you don't have a choice. That makes it a bit trickier. And that's why accepting that all of the struggle and torment God puts you through is to strengthen you. It's not to punish you. It's not to torture you. It is to strengthen you. He's putting you in the spiritual gym. You got to do some wisdom squats every now and then to build up your strength and consume your spiritual protein in the form of prayer. I'm going to stop with that analogy before I get smited. But I hope you understand the picture I'm trying to point out right now. Whoever you are that's watching this, I guarantee you are going through multiple struggles relating to different areas of your life that I would not be able to comprehend even if I tried. We're all in this together. We're all climbing the same mountains. We're just in different instances. We can't see each other, but we can feel each other. And that's why it's so important to remember our unity and to remain in communion with each other and not to judge others. Some people are better at dealing with struggle than others. You've only got to look at the streets of any main city and see the state that some people find themselves in because they weren't quite strong enough to withstand the torment that their lives had been called to endure. And it is sad. But what we can do is to persevere through the struggle, to keep climbing the mountain, showing gratitude for everything that we've learned on the way, for everything that we're going to learn, and for being on the path in the first place. Focusing on the reward can help insofar as seeing the ultimate goal, which is reaching the kingdom of heaven. But not if that becomes an idol in of itself and you are doing everything to get to that point, as opposed to just doing whatever needs to be done in that moment to take that next step forward. I've fallen into despondency so many times because I haven't gotten what I'd wanted. Not many clients in my coaching business, not many views on a video. Very trivial things. But what you're getting frustrated at is indicative of where your worldly concerns or attachments are. And that's another blessing of the journey. The journey to theosis is a stripping back of the darkness and corruption that we all hold within our hearts to a certain extent. And those who have eyes to see and ears to hear will be attentive to those passions and will attempt to make a difference. By the time you get to the top of the mountain, you will be clear. You'll be cleansed for that purpose. Okay, you're not going to say you're going to achieve theosis by climbing one mountain. Consider it baggage. Climbing up the mountain, you've got baggage. You only know you've got the baggage when it starts getting heavy and it starts getting tired. You start getting tired and you really feel the weight. And it's like you can choose to drop the baggage at any moment. Figure out why you're holding on to it. Let go. Easier said than done. I know. My entire job it revolves around that notion. But it's doable. You can do it. I know you can. And trust me when I say that whether it's a small mountain or a bigger mountain or the mountain, the reward at the top will be worth it. And it'll be something that you never conceived of. So there's no point in trying. There's no point in trying, because whatever you think could be up there, it's not going to be that. I could give lots of examples from my own life, but I won't talk on those in this video. So use this time of Lent to come to terms with all that's holding you back, all that's weighing you down, all the ways in which you are getting in your own way of climbing your mountain and reaching the top to where God has set forth something so great that you'll look back down and be so very glad that you put in the work. I hope this has been of some encouragement and help to you. God bless. Thank you all for your support.